Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you are ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Friday. It's a Fights in Football Friday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. This is the fights portion, as we're going to be looking at fights to make coming off of UFC 304. Get ready for the UFC card this weekend, plus a major boxing card and WWE Summerslam. So, thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get into it and talk some fights. UFC 304 is now in the rearview mirror, so what are some of the fights that we should see coming off of it? Let's begin in the welterweight division with the new welterweight king. He is Belal Muhammad. He does not get long to enjoy the throne, as my next opponent for him is Shavkat Rakhmonov. Rakhmonov is so clearly the number one contender for this right now. Usman is technically still ranked ahead of him, but this is Shavkat's time. And I don't think that Leon Edwards gets an immediate rematch coming out of this. It wasn't a, I think the world of Leon Edwards, do not get me wrong. It is not a lengthy enough nor dominant enough title reign to just get that immediate rematch. To me, the immediate rematches are for closely contested fights, which that wasn't, and for dominant lengthy title reigns, which that wasn't. It was fine. But it was not this guy needs to get another opportunity, and he certainly doesn't need to get one over Shavkat, who has been absolutely dominant and is the clear next contender for this belt. So what does that mean for Leon Edwards? Well, it means that Leon Edwards, I think, gets the winner of Gilbert Burns against Sean Brady. Those are still two highly ranked fighters in the welterweight division, but they are two fighters who haven't necessarily had things click for them lately. Brady coming off of a loss to Belal Muhammad. He did pick up a win after that and still looks really, really good. And so I guess he could make a bit of a case that he could be in line for a title shot if he were to beat Gilbert Burns. If Burns gets that win, I still think he needs one or two victories before he moves into that upper echelon there at 170 pounds. And I think Leon Edwards is a good fight for that. Moving into the heavyweight division, and Tom Aspinall with another dominant performance to retain the interim heavyweight championship. Up next for him, I have Cyril Gane. Gane is just one fight removed from an absolutely putrid showing against John Jones. But there's kind of no one left. If we're not going to do the John Jones fight, if we are not going to do the Pereira fight, this is the fight that is the next one to make, I think, for Tom Aspinall. Cyril Gane is an incredibly talented fighter, and I think would present an interesting challenge for Tom Aspinall, but not one that I don't think Aspinall could overcome. Curtis Blades, I have him going up against Jailton Almeida. It's a rematch from their bout. I believe it was UFC 299. Almeida was doing really well and then he shoots for a takedown and kind of slips. It looked like maybe he had got dropped and went down on that, and then just a bunch of absolute elbows puts a close to the show on that one. Not taking anything away from Blades' victory in that bout, but I do believe that you either reestablish Blades as a challenger in the heavyweight division with that win, or you rocket Almeida into the title picture in the heavyweight division with a victory there. So I think it is a really good bit of matchmaking, if I do say so myself, to put that one together. Paddy Pimblett called for it, so let's give it to him. Renato Moicano. And I think you give him Moicano regardless of how Benoit Saint-Denis does against him coming up in a few weeks' time. And I don't want to give Paddy Pimblett the winner of Benoit Saint-Denis and Renato Moicano, because I do think that BSD is actually a little bit more advanced than that right now. No shot at Moicano. This is definitely a bit of a giveaway as to who I think is going to win that fight. I just think BSD, if he comes away with that win, he is going to have higher hopes in that division. I think you do this anyway. There's been some talk of making them the Ultimate Fighter coaches. I would have no problem with that. I think it would be an interesting fight to see where Paddy Pimblett is now in this division. A couple other ones to watch for. Gregory Rodriguez against Chao Borralho. Chao will probably be wanting a bigger name coming off of his Alan Craig fight, but I think Rodriguez now needs a step up in the top 15, and kind of everyone in the bottom third of that top 15 is accounted for right now. And so this does kind of feel like maybe killing off a prospect either way, but I do think that it is a test that Rodriguez deserves, and I do also believe that it is an interesting test for Borralho as he continues to work his way up at 185 pounds. And then lastly, Arnold Allen. I think his jump in the rankings is a little much, and so like if he looks at the rankings, he is going to see Calvin Kattar in his rearview mirror, and I think Allen is kind of like, hey, I'm not going that way. Why am I going back there? It's a rematch from a fight that ended with an injury, and I do think that rocket has been kind of shot up for Allen, maybe a little bit too much, coming off of what was a good performance against Giga Chikadze. But I do think that this is a nice next stop for Allen to really see if he is a true contender in this division. And so I think it's an interesting step up for him. So those are the fights to make coming off of UFC 304. But what about the fights that we have coming up this weekend? It is Ultimate Fight Night from Abu Dhabi. Let's break down some of the key fights. It is Ultimate Fight Night coming up this weekend as the main event sees Corey Sandhagen taking Umar Nurmagomedov in the bantamweight division. So let's look at just a couple of the key fights. Not going to be as in-depth of a breakdown as we normally do for the pay-per-views, but this is a pretty good Fight Night card, so let's get into it. First, we have Mackenzie Dern taking on Lupi Godinez in the women's strawweight division. Dern has lost 3 of her last 4. The only win, a kind of contested decision victory over Angela Hill, while the Canadian Godinez lost in her last fight, ends a 4-fight winning streak. This is an absolute must-win for Mackenzie Dern. That there is absolutely no mistaking it. Mackenzie Dern needs to win this fight if she is going to kind of carry any weight as a prospect in this division. And Lupi is a really, really tough fighter and a very talented one at that. She is not going to have the full support of her camp as a person who is very important to her. Her sister is off in the goddamn Olympics right now. So there's that going on. But there's just something in me that's like, I just don't see Dern losing this fight. And I'm a big fan of Lupi in the women's strawweight division. I just feel like this is such an important fight for Dern. We have to see the best version of her. And so because of that, I think she comes away with a victory in this bout. Tony Ferguson against Michael Chiesa at welterweight. There isn't really a whole lot to discuss, unfortunately. I think Tony Ferguson is just done. Not that Michael Chiesa is this young up-and-comer or anything like that, but I just think that Tony Ferguson's time has come, and I think it'll be very apparent this weekend in a bout with Michael Chiesa. In the bantamweight division, it's Marlo Chito Vera against Davison Figueiredo. Vera has lost 2 of his last 3, but those losses coming to O'Malley and this weekend's headliner in Corey Sandhagen, the win coming over Pedro Munoz. While Figueiredo back-to-back wins, moving up to bantamweight over Garbrandt and Font, the former flyweight champion, has certainly made an impact in the move up to 135 pounds. And I think that continues this weekend. I just think Davison Figueiredo, we have clearly seen the power has translated up to 135 pounds, even though he hasn't got a knockout victory yet. He is a very talented fighter, and Vera got the title opportunity based off of a win that he had previously over Sean O'Malley. Again, he is only losing to the tippity top of this division, but I think this fight will prove that Figueiredo is one of those fighters here at 135 pounds. And then we get to the main event, a really interesting fight in the bantamweight division as Corey Sandhagen goes up against Umar Nurmagomedov. Sandhagen has won 3 in a row, the last 2 by decision. He has beaten Song Yadong, Chito Vera, and Rob Font. Well, Nurmagomedov has beaten everybody. He is 17-0. He is 5-0 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. 3 finishes. The one thing that is keeping me from just absolutely locking in Nurmagomedov, and he is a pretty big favorite on this card. The one thing that is keeping me from doing that is this is a substantial jump up in competition. Not undeserved, because he has been absolutely controlling guys in this weight class, but this is a monster step up for him. I do think he wins this fight, not enough to put any kind of a sprinkle on it, but I do think that he comes away victorious in this bout. One thing I would look, and I didn't look at the odds before this, so apologies, and quite frankly, I don't know if they were up yet. I would consider just going by decision in this. Corey Sandhagen is an absolute motherfucker to finish, and Nurmagomedov, 3 finishes in 5 fights in the UFC, but again, that giant step up in competition, I don't know if he's going to be able to put Sandhagen away, which then leads to the question, is he going to be able to outpoint him for 5 rounds, which leads to a bit of a bigger one. My answer to that is yes, but you can clearly hear that I am not necessarily fully locked in on old Nurmi to pick up a win here out in Abu Dhabi. But I think it's going to be a really, really interesting bout coming up this weekend. All right, that is the story from the Ultimate Fighting Championship. There is a gigantic bout coming up this weekend as Terence Crawford is back. Let's talk about it.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply. When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
It is such a treat when you get one of the pound-for-pound kings, and he is back this weekend under the bright lights of Los Angeles with a Saudi cloud hanging over for sure, but the bright lights of LA welcome one of the game's best as Terence Crawford is back in the ring going up against Israel Madrimov. Talked about some of the other key fighters on this card earlier this week. I'm not going to go into a full breakdown of those fights. Apologies for that was initially my intention, to be perfectly honest. And it has just been an absolute week of madness around here. So if you want to know some of the other fighters on that, you can go back and check that out. Or if you are listening to the mega preview that I've put up a little bit later on, then you know that I've already talked about it. So let's break down this main event. It is Israel Madrimov going up against Terence Bud Crawford. Bud is 36 years old, born in Omaha, Nebraska. The southpaw stands at 5'8" with an unblemished record in 40 fights, 40 wins, 31 by way of knockout, including his last and maybe his most impressive, not even maybe, his absolutely most impressive, a knockout in the 9th round of Errol Spence Jr. back in July 29th of 2023. He has knocked out his last 9 opponents. He has wins over Errol Spence Jr., Sean Porter, Kell Brook, and Amir Khan. This will be the 5th pay-per-view that he is the headliner for, and he's been a pro since 2008. Going up against Madrimov, who is 29 years old, born in Uzbekistan. He stands at 5'8", 11 fights, 10 wins, and 1 draw. 7 wins coming by way of knockout, including his last bout back in March, a knockout in the 5th round of Magomed Kubanov. Again, that coming in March of 2024. It's back-to-back wins after a draw for him. This is so clearly a gigantic step up in competition, as this will be just the 4th fighter that Madrimov has faced that has a Wikipedia page. He is a former gold and silver medalist at the Asian Games, and he won silver at the Asian Championships in 2017. So, certainly I was going to say decorated international fighter. He's won some stuff internationally, at least within Asia. This fight shouldn't be close. This is a fight to get Terence Crawford some more money, get him back in the ring for the first time in 2024, hopefully put some pressure on Canelo Alvarez to set up one of the biggest super fights this sport has ever seen. I feel bad dismissing Madrimov, but like I said on Monday, the only thing I see that could limit Terence Crawford in this fight is if there is a bit of a letdown after his pound-for-pound bout with Errol Spence Jr. back in July of last year. Crawford has been knocking out some of the best fighters this sport has seen. And honestly, given the stakes, given the circumstances, given where both fighters were ranking pound for pound, his fight against Errol Spence Jr. is legitimately one of the most impressive performances in the history of high-level boxing. And so to come off of that and then to lose to Israel Madrimov, I simply don't see it happening. So I think he gets the win. And hopefully it is another pound-for-pound level fight for him coming up after this one. Madrimov is a good fighter, an interesting fighter coming up, depending on the weight class. But he is just simply not ready for this level. I do not anticipate the main event being overly lengthy for Terence Crawford against Israel Madrimov. All right, that is the story from the old face punch in sports. What about the world of professional wrestling, as WWE is in Cleveland for SummerSlam this weekend? I can't wait, so let's get into the breakdown. The biggest party of the summer takes over Cleveland, as it is SummerSlam this weekend. For full disclosure, I am taping this Friday morning at 10:49 a.m. So if something happens on SmackDown and you see this after, my bad. All right, let's get right into it. I'm doing this, by the way, in the order that the matches are placed up on Wikipedia. So up first is Damian Priest against Gunther for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. If you've been watching or listening to my content for the last little bit, you know that this is a match that I have gone back and forth on. I don't know what they're going to do. At first, it was locked into me that Gunther was just going to ride this lightning bolt and become the World Heavyweight Championship, or become the World Heavyweight Champion. But then, it's kind of, it is not the level of Triple H Booker T, but holy shit, man. If you book a guy to say homelessness is a choice, and if your parents loved you, they would have given you money so you didn't have to live in your car, and then you beat that guy, whew, That's kind of shitty of you. And also, I feel like Damian Priest is starting to come into his own a little bit as world champion, but he just hasn't really clicked for me yet in that role. And so I kind of then go back to, I think Gunther does win. I think it's going to be an interesting match either way, but I do think we get Gunther going into Berlin as the conquering hero and not someone who is still in need of winning a championship. Up next, it is Bayley against Nia Jax for the Women's Championship. I think it was interesting that they had Nia pin her on SmackDown on Friday in that tag team match where Mia Yim kind of felt like the obvious fall person in that bout. it feels like they've kind of been splitting things a little bit, and they've put a lot of the tension on Tiffany Stratton, and it feels like it's taken away from this bout necessarily. And so for Friday, I would really like to see a Nia Bailey, no Tiffany Stratton, whatever. Like, we get that is something that is looming with Money in the Bank. But I would like to see a Nia Jax Bailey, like, no, don't look at her, look at me. I'm the champion here. I'm the challenger here, and this is how it is going to be. I don't anticipate Stratton cashing in at SummerSlam. I know they did that with EO last year. I don't think they will do it again here. That might be a SmackDown after SummerSlam thing. I just don't think that it happens in this spot necessarily. The Raw Women's Championship, aka the WWE Women's World Championship, is up for grabs as Liv Morgan takes on Rhea Ripley. And again, this felt to me like it was obvious that Rhea Ripley was going to just win. And she was going to be the dominant performer who comes out and ends up getting the job done, reclaiming her championship, and it's like the last few months never even happened. But something happened along the way. Liv Morgan got really, really good. And I just feel like right now, you keep it with Liv Morgan. And one of the things I hate the most is... Rhea Ripley doesn't need the championship right now. Okay, well then that means the championship needs her. Like, to me, the championship should be, I don't want to say above everyone, but there should be very few that just don't need the championship. And right now, I'm not saying Rhea needs the championship, but I feel like you keep it on Liv and you keep this momentum going. I think that this is just kind of the end of Act 1 in this instead of the crescendo of this story. I feel like there is going to be a lot of shenanigans. I feel like it is going to be I think that this is going to be where the fracture in the bloodline is. And maybe you get it throughout the night. Like, maybe you do get Priest and Gunther to start the show. Balor comes in and throws off Damian Priest, and that leads to him losing. And then later in the night, the turn fully happens, and Judgment Day fully turns on Rhea Ripley with Finn, JD McDonough, and Carlito going off with Liv Morgan and Dom, Mommy, and Damian Priest form their own thing. Or they don't, who knows. The WWE Championship up for grabs as it is Cody Rhodes taking on Solo Sikoa. I would be stunned if Solo gets the win here. Cody feels like one of the locks of the card, and another lock is that it does feel like Roman Reigns shows up at this one. They've referenced him quite a few times on TV now. Solo being like, if you don't like it, you know where to find me. I just feel like this is the time that Roman comes back and we start this civil war. U.S. title on the line as Logan Paul defends it against L.A. Knight. I would love for L.A. Knight, to end up getting the United States Championship away from Logan Paul. Logan Paul playing the role of Logan Paul exceptionally well. He is remarkably good at being someone who is just painfully unlikable. But I do think it is now time with performers like Andrade and Carmelo Hayes and this mid-card that is building up in WWE on SmackDown. I do think it's time to have the mid-card championship back, and so I think LA Knight brings it back home. Intercontinental Championship, I think we get a title change here too. I think that they beat Braun Breaker once, you continue to build him up as just an absolute super duper star, and now it is time for him to get a win at SummerSlam and really coronate him as one of the next ones to watch in 2024 in WWE. And then lastly, CM Punk against Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. There's going to be shenanigans. It is going to be all over the place, this match. I would not be surprised if we get some form of an AJ Lee run-in in this particular contest. I do think CM Punk gets the win in his return. And I think after this, it's time to stop beating Drew McIntyre like a drum. I think we have had, like, he gets his moment at WrestleMania, but then he gets cashed in on. And then he loses the qualifying match. And then he loses the championship match. And it's all these different things that have been colluding against Drew McIntyre that has obviously been building into this story. But coming out of this, can we get our guys some more wins? That's all I'm asking for on this show today. All right, that is going to do it for the program today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This is just one half of the shows today on this Fights and Football Friday. Wherever you are consuming this, there's also Football Friday as we look at CFL for this week and we look at some of the storylines in the NFL. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will talk to all of you later. Have a great day, everybody.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
What if you could have a career where the opportunities are as vast as our nation, where it's not about mission statements, but a shared mission? At U.S. Customs and Border Protection, we go beyond to protect more than borders. From ship to shore, air to ground, cities to local communities, CBP agents and officers are keeping people safe. Join U.S. Customs and Border Protection and go beyond for something far greater than yourself. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.